Just as well I have my glasses, my new glasses, otherwise it would be too dark to read now. I don't know where the day went. It is Saturday, the 11th of November. I've got a sleeping cat behind me. And I'm reading out of Return to Elysium. It is a far memory book by Joan Grant. She died in 1989, and she was a writer of her own former memories, reincarnations. This is a life as Lucina. She lived on a Greek island in her early years. She grew up very remotely, and then when she was 13, she went to Elysium. We are now at part 12 of this, entitled Escapest, and this is the second reading I'm doing on it. The sense of failure and inferiority fell away from me. No longer could anyone laugh at my reality. At least I belonged in my own right to Elysium. So we have won. Oh, Escapest, we have won. The victory is to the enemy. But I don't understand. The physician tried to trick us, and he couldn't. How can you say the enemy had the victory? Is it so easy for you to forget the great issues in a personal triumph, Lucina? You have shown that the marble is flawed in which I tried to carve an image by which men could honor their own integrity. Why should we rejoice that we have failed to free humanity from its slavery? Unless we can discount this evidence, we must admit that instead of ruling our own lives, we are no more than the fevered dreams of those who sleep bemused with nectar or gorged with bloody sacrifices in Hades. How can you say that? How can you feel that? When we have found a new cure for people in torment? Would you discard a beneficent drug because it could become a poison if unwisely used? We must not become cowards, Asclepius, when we have to enter a new country which is still unknown. There will never be a free world, Lucina, until it is composed of people who are free in themselves. A real democracy cannot be made from slaves. Everyone is a slave unless he will recognize immediate personal responsibility for his character and his destiny. Have I ever denied personal responsibility? You no longer find it sufficient to feed your pride. You see yourself Olympian, playing God to immortals, and you are glad. Yes, I am glad. Are you surprised? You told me to accept I am what I am. Why should I be ashamed because I have the courage to say also, I have seen what I have seen? You will find it comfortable to say, I have seen, I know, instead of listening to reason. Did reason save the woman? Of course. Why should she fight for breath because philosophers and physicians find it convenient to deny everything which does not fit into their theories? Why should a woman live in terror of cats because none of you had the vision to challenge Bast? Such a small taste of power, Lucina, has made you cruel. Have I done anything to justify your accusing me of being an escapist? You're doing it now. The gods may not be mentioned in Elysium, but do you think they consider this rebuke? We are not allowed to use the word slave, but are there fewer slaves in Greece, in Rome, in Macedonia? We have to recognize the power of dark gods, malign powers, and learn to fight them. Fight, do you understand? Not run away, not pretend that evil has no existence, except in the imagination of the credulous. So you want to be a new Pandora? Is there not enough misery in the world without your trying to add to it? At least Pandora had the courage to open the box. If she had had more, she might have discovered how to kill the evil which escaped from it. Would courage have been enough? You are young and strong. The enemy, if it was an enemy and not the personification of some factor in your own nature was defeated, but there are many enemies of sanity. So you think I'm going mad? I think you are deliberately choosing a road which will lead you to destruction of mind and body. You have always said that each man chooses the road of his destiny. We shall find the end of my road, for I shall follow where it leads. You won't be able to stop me. How can you, when you so often claim we are free to make our own decisions? I shall keep you away from everyone whom I consider may be a malign influence. I promised your mother to protect you. I shall fulfill that promise by every means in my power, even if it means I must estrange you. You're not going to let me help you anymore? You won't let me use this power, which we both know exists? Asclepius, don't turn us both into escapists. If only you will accept me, I will gladly give my life in your service. I will give everything. I know, Lucina, you would give your peace of mind, even your sanity. At least I have the courage to accept neither sacrifice. What do you expect me to do? It is not difficult, and I plead with you to obey me. He took my hand, holding it between his own, and his eyes were sorrowful. I'm a proud man, Lucina. Perhaps that is why I am so aware of the dangers of pride. But now I do not command obedience, I only implore you to listen. Was he really unhappy, or only being clever? He knew he could never make me change my mind by bullying. So was he deliberately using the unfair weapon of an appeal for sympathy? Even though you are only 17, you are already a woman, Lucina, but you are still sufficiently immature to believe that you will always be content to merge your humanity into the service of some unknown power. But I knew your mother, loved your mother, failed your mother. I watched her caught between the two extremes of the pendulum, the virgin priestess and the pregnant woman. The conflict was too great, she died. And I, the philosopher, who could not share her dreams of immortality, watched her die and knew myself powerless to bring her comfort. Perhaps he was right. It might be a much greater happiness to marry Cleon, to have children, to be content to be as other women. I had been afraid before the battle with Bast. With Cleon to think for me, I should never have to be afraid. Then I can marry Cleon. You only said I wasn't ready to make a man happy because you were remembering that love had hurt you. In a few years you can marry him, if you still want to marry, but only when I'm sure you no longer want to escape from yourself into the role of the mystic or the mother. So I was still to be treated like an irresponsible child. I said bitterly, you haven't told me what I am to do during the next few years, and you seem to have forgotten that when one is young, the years are never few. Nothing will be changed. You will enter into discussions, help me compound remedies, arrange the flowers, all the things which occupy your normal routine. It will be easy to forget the last few days. He took the letter which I had left on the table beside him. See how easy it is to destroy a memory. He went to the brazier and I watched the closely written lines curl in the heat. He crumbled the ash between his fingers. The words have gone. The incident is forgotten. Nothing is forgotten, Asclepius. You cannot escape from memory. It is too strong. Strong as life, stronger than love. Nonsense, Lucina. We train ourselves to remember. We can make ourselves forget. You must ignore this unfortunate experience. You must forget your feelings for Cleon until such time as we may consider it appropriate. He looked confident and cheerful. He thought he had been clever enough to find a reasonable solution to the problem of Lucina. He smiled as I went out of the room. He found it easy to smile, because it was convenient to believe that I had ceased to love Cleon, since I had been told it was inexpedient. He thought I could be persuaded to forget that already 2 women were happier because I had not run away from reality. I felt no pity for Asclepius. For this he could blame his own teaching, which had trained me to be intolerant of those who were afraid to accept truth. Now I would work with Cleon, or alone. I would fight for Lucina's vision against the world. So, this was chapter 12, and the next chapter is chapter 13, and it's entitled Buried Roses. Have a good Saturday night.